What's up, everybody? We want to honor our seniors and those that have graduated and will be going off to college, and we can't do it in person. So instead, we're going to do that through Zoom, and you guys will be able to hang out with us. So today we've got Jason. Jason, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of go through some questions.
My name is Jason. I was a senior at Greensboro College, Middle College, and I'm going to UNCC in the fall.
Nice. That's awesome. So let me ask you, Jason, if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Feel to go back in time, absolutely.
Ooh, go back in
I
time.
want to so many things,
Do
so
you?
many things I work on fixing right now while there's time to work on them.
Nice.
So if I could go back in time and like make sure I don't have to fix them now, much better.
So you go back in time to fix yourself. You want to go back in time to fix, like, I don't know, the coronavirus or something like pandemic. Okay. Okay, that's cool. So what school did you attend?
I attended Greensboro College, Middle College.
Nice. Awesome. And what was your favorite memory from like your entire school, your entire education, like K through 12th grade? What was your favorite memory through all of
Through my entire
that?
education.
Yeah. Or a favorite memory. How about that?
Um, Well, there's probably so many I could think of, but I can think of like the best thing I ever did. That's the closest thing I could probably think of with a definitive answer. My eighth grade field trip to Charleston was so much fun.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds like fun. All right. So you said you're going to UNC Charlotte.
hmm
Awesome. What are you going to major in?
I'm undeclared right now, but I think about actually going to business. I've really been thinking about that. I've been leaning that way for a while, and I'm thinking I should go for it. But
Yeah. Okay. So if you could own one business, what would it be?
Chick-fil-A.
Like, dude, I'm right there with you. I just had Chick-fil-A for lunch. That is awesome. And then what kind of career do you want to go to? Well, like, what's your dream job right now, if you could?
I really don't have a dream job, to be perfectly honest. The only thing I could say is I want to own my own business. I want to employ myself, but that's as much as I really know. I'm really open to selling whatever,
That's awesome. That's
whatever,
cool.
whatever the future holds. Hopefully, I'm there to be selling it. I don't know.
That's cool, man. But you definitely want to be a business owner. You definitely want to be,
Yes.
man, that's awesome. That's awesome. You'd be good at that. All right, my last question. This one could be kind of hard.
Okay.
What's the best lesson you learned up until now?
Geez, kindness does go a long way.
Oh, I know that's the truth.
I really wish I'd been a nicer person when I was younger. Little more humble when I was young.
Kindness.
That's really more what it is. Be humble.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's really, really good. Well, it's not too late to learn that as you go off to college. Keep kindness and humility in mind. So, everybody, that was Jason. We have quite a few seniors this year, so we're going to be doing a lot of these throughout our services so that you can see and you can celebrate with them. Jason, do you have any social media?
I do. I have an Instagram, but I don't even.
Oh, I was going to shout out your Instagram name, man. Everybody can go follow you. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate it. Everybody just let's clap for Jason in your living room right now. Awesome. Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you.
I don't know about you, but my life has been flipped upside down from this whole quarantine and COVID 19 mess. Like, I'm the type of guy that is built on routine. I thrive when the proper boundaries are there, when I know what my day is going to look like, when I know what my week or even my year is going to look like. I thrive in that kind of environment. And so, with quarantine happening, my life has just flipped upside down. And stick with me for a moment, but it almost seems like my whole apple cart has been flipped over, right? Like I went out, I planned and I prepared everything and put it in my cart, everything's ready to go, and I'm pushing my apples back and I hit a bump and everything just falls out. And I feel like I wasted my time, or I wasn't well prepared, and now I'm left kind of confused and frustrated and kind of angry, to be honest. For example, I run my own DJ business, and I really enjoy doing it, and I've done it the past 2 years or so, but this season, this April or this spring season was set to be my most successful season yet. I had so many weddings booked and a lot of parties booked, and it was going to be a great time for my business to grow in success, grow financially, and just do a better job. And obviously, because of all that, everything's canceled, and I had to just kind of press pause on that and sit on that. Another example is my wife and I were really involved with the local theater guild in our community. And springtime is the biggest time for shows to happen. And I do sound and I build sets. My wife acts and she stage manages and all that. And right now we've had to pause all of that. And we had so much planned for the spring, and it seems to have just stopped, right? Everything's just fallen out, and we're left kind of frustrated to pick up the pieces and figure out where we go from here. And I know I'm not the only one feeling that right now, right? This is a global pandemic. The whole world is going through that. There are people who've lost their only income, right? And you're trying to figure out, how do I pay the bills for the next couple months? How do I move on from here? There are some people who haven't been able to see family in so long because they're trying to protect their parents or grandparents or children. They haven't been able to see the ones that they loved, and they've been so far from them for so long. There's some people that they were very depressed before. They were having a lot of issues before, and now being forced into this isolation has just almost taken them over the edge, and they don't know what to do. We all know what it feels like to have our apple cart flipped over. And right now we're sitting in this mess, everything just laid on the floor, trying to figure out, where do we go from here? What do we pick up first? How do we get back into this new normal that's going to happen? Well, today I actually want to challenge you with something. And it's the fact that maybe what seems like the worst thing that's ever happened to us might actually be the biggest opportunity that we've ever been given. And I know that sounds crazy, but we're going to look into the Bible. We're going to study one of Jesus's own disciples. And hopefully by the end of this, in the next couple minutes, we're going to figure out that God has given us an opportunity to pick up the pieces intentionally and hopefully influence the world in a better way because of that. We're on our second week of Influencer, and we believe that Jesus was the most powerful influencer in the whole world, and he used that influence to change lives. And today we're going to talk about being intentional with how you influence, who you influence, and how our lives need to be set up in order for us to influence the proper way. We're going to be in John chapter 20, and like I said, we're going to talk about one of Jesus' disciples, Thomas. Now, Thomas, he had this thing where he was called the Doubting Thomas, right? He's never called that in the Bible, but the early church kind of picked up this nickname of Doubting Thomas. And I think that's crazy. Like, he's one of the disciples, so he's so excited, he's so happy to be that, and yet he's known as Doubting Thomas. And he's known for that because of how he acts in John chapter 20. And so we're gonna dig into that, and we're gonna see that Thomas was in a situation kind of similar to us. His apple cart flipped over. His whole life was changed. Everything was different. And he was about to experience this new normal. And we see how he reacted to it and how we should react to it as well. So let's turn to John chapter 20 and set the scene. Jesus has just died. Right, we talked a couple weeks ago, Jesus was taken, and we talked about how Peter reacted to that. But Jesus has died in his tomb, and we find out that Jesus has been raised from the dead, right? 3 days later, Jesus came from the dead. Now, the disciples are together at this point, except Thomas. And we'll pick up right there in John chapter 20. Verses 24. Now, Thomas, also known as Didymus, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So let's stop right there. We know that Thomas was not with the disciples, and we'll kind of study that, but we learn this interesting piece of information that's kind of easy to go over. Thomas, also called Didymus. Now, that's huge. To us, it's like, whatever, he's got a nickname. No, Didymus was his Greek name, while Thomas was his Jewish name. Now, people that had two names like that, one for each culture, were able to live life in both culture. He had a Jewish life, and he also had this Grecian or Roman life that he would have lived out. Now, that's important, and we'll figure out what that means. But we also see that he was away from the disciples. At this point, when Jesus died, you would think all the disciples would come together to be together, but for some reason, Thomas chose not to. It seems like Thomas, he didn't necessarily abandon the other disciples, right? But we see that when his world was turned upside down, he didn't go to his brothers for discernment and for comfort. He went to the Roman world. It's plausible to believe that Thomas, when all this happened, instead of doing what was familiar, he went to try out the Roman world. Try out what it was like living as Didymus. I've been Thomas for 3 years. I followed Jesus. I've done that, and it seems like it's failed. So I'm going to try being Didymus for a little bit, living as a Roman. And so he went to find answers, not from where he's gotten answers before, but from somewhere else. And isn't that true for us? Like, when issues happen, when storms come in our lives, usually we don't go to what really comforts us the most. We try different things. And for example, a couple years ago, I was at a church and I got laid off from that church. And I can remember, without going into too much detail, I picked up new habits. Some were good, some were bad. But the point is, I went to new things to try to discern what was happening in my life. Like, we try to find our new self, our new identity. When storms come is when we question our identity the most. John chapter 20, verse 25. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." So we see, not only did Thomas search for another identity, but in searching for that identity, he lost belief in Jesus. He started doubting the one thing that was certain in his life, the one thing that brought him comfort for 3 years, the one thing that he was grounded in his identity. We see him questioning the power of Jesus. And I think we do that today too. When we start searching for a new identity, usually the first thing we think about is our relationship with Jesus. Well, we see something must have gotten into him, right? Like he spent a week away from the disciples, is what it seems like, probably exploring the life of Didymus, right? His Roman counterpart, and living that life, trying to seek comfort there. And we see that something must have come over him, and he went to be with the disciples again, right? God has a way of turning us around into the right direction sometimes when his plan is being created. And so we see him with his disciples, and we continue through verse 26. A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Thomas said to him, "My Lord and my God." And then Jesus told him, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." Thomas is confronted with physical proof that Jesus is alive. And it seems from the story that everything just starts going back together for Thomas, right? His life was flipped upside down, but now it's all coming back together. What's his response? "My Lord and my God." He's on fire. He's ready to go. He's ready to get back on mission for Jesus. Forget that searching for another comfort or for another identity. He is back on board. And that sounds really nice, right? Like a nice bow tied at the end of this story. And we think, of course it worked out that way. Like it's Jesus, right? It's supposed to work out that way. It's in the Bible. But the sad fact is, it doesn't always work out that way, right? Like we can understand that. Sometimes it doesn't always work out for the better. And right now, every single person watching this is presented with the same opportunity that Thomas was presented with. We're in the same exact predicament. Our apple carts have flipped over. Everything is spread out, our entire life, our values, our beliefs, the habits that we do, the routines, everything in our life is spread out. And we get the chance to look at it and kind of take inventory of it. And we can see what habits we've started, what habits we've lost, what we should bring back, and what should ultimately stay dead. Quarantine's been a really weird thing. This pandemic's brought some pretty weird stuff into my daily life. Right? Like Katie and I planted a flower bed, like close to the beginning of the pandemic. We were just like, let's just go out and we planted a flower bed from scratch and had a great time. And it was so much fun. We finished some renovations that we have been talking about finishing for a long time. I've learned about live streaming and Zoom and how to educate people through Zoom and how to continue doing my job and my mission using those tools and some different tools. I even started Grubhub driving, right? Like it just Just thought that'd be cool and make some extra cash, right? So all that cool stuff has happened, but I've been on my phone nonstop during this time. I've been on social media nonstop in a very unhealthy way. I've experienced road rage in a crazy amount. Like, I've always had that issue in my life, but for some reason, right now, during this pandemic, it's just gotten so much worse. And I don't know why, but that's just something that's happened. I've become complacent in my marriage, right? Like, we see each other all the time, so why do I need to try? Why do I need to put effort in loving my wife? I've experienced all that. So this pandemic, this quarantine has brought some really good habits in my life, some cool experiences, but it's also brought some pretty bad habits that maybe I don't necessarily have to have in my life. And so I'm at a point in my life as we're returning to this new normal. I have to figure out, what do I want to keep? What things have I brought on during this pandemic that I would like to keep and I think are good for my life and healthy? And then what things have I brought on that are not good, that I need to get rid of, that I need to eradicate out of my life? Likewise, what things did I lose during this quarantine that it's good that I lost, that I need to keep them away? And then what things have I gained what things have I lost that I need to put back into my life? I can decide today what my priorities are and what things are hurting me, and I can start working on them. You see, how we respond to this, how we get back into society, is how people are going to remember us. What if we bounce back from this healthier than ever? Like, what if we got back into our routine and all the unhealthy stuff was out and we were just killing it for Jesus? Like, we were just doing such a good job being on fire and not having so many blockades in our life, not having so much sin that keeps us away from the mission of God, obedient to God, loving our spouses as best we can, being present for our children, pursuing holiness. I mean, talk about influence. Talk about being able to shape your leadership format to people. People being able to see you and saying, I want to be like that because they point me closer to Jesus. That is what we want to be like. But that doesn't happen by accident. That is being intentional about the decisions you make today, tomorrow, the next couple weeks as we get back into it. If we are intentional about everything that we bring back into our life, everything that we get out of our life and that we take away, when we're intentional about that, that is where true influence comes from. But you know what? If we refuse to be intentional about how we recover from this, then our busyness will decide who we are. Our values will come from where we get trapped with our time. If we refuse to be intentional about how we react to our spouses after this, then usually the default is going to be negative. If we refuse to be intentional about the decisions we make at work and where we put our time and our value and how we set up our routine, then generally our default's going to be unhealthy. We are standing in the same spot as Thomas right now. Our world is turned upside down, and we can choose right now how we're going to recover from this. We can purposely, intentionally make decisions that will better our future and put us as better influencers for Jesus. And here's the best news about it, right? We read at the beginning that Thomas didn't make the best decisions at first. When his apple cart flipped over, he went to go explore other options. He blatantly showed his disbelief in Jesus. But right here is the best news. Jesus still gave him an opportunity to believe in him. Like, Jesus showed up and said, feel this, like this, the holes in my hands, the holes in my side, feel that, Thomas. I am here for you no matter what you choose, no matter where you're going from here. I still love you and I still want you to be on mission for me, be in relationship with me. Jesus gave Thomas that other opportunity, and right now Jesus is giving you the same exact opportunity. Maybe you're not responding well to this. Maybe this quarantine has not only wrecked your mind mentally, but maybe you've picked up habits that aren't the best. And maybe you've treated your loved ones not the best, and you've just become a very unhealthy person during this. Jesus is standing here right now presenting you this opportunity that you can change your values. You can redirect your beliefs, your values and priorities into what's most important. And for those of y'all, maybe there's some of you out there that you didn't like your life before quarantine. You didn't like the person you were. You didn't like just that thing about you. And Jesus is presenting you with this opportunity. He's saying, I love you. I want to be in relationship with you. I want to help you clean up that life that you have and be on mission for me. Jesus is standing here right now, giving you this opportunity to reset your values, to redirect your priorities. And here's my challenge this morning. Let's take inventory of our hearts. Like honestly, get a piece of paper out, write this down. What habits have you dropped because of this quarantine? Like you just haven't been able to do them anymore. What habits have you gained because of this? Are they healthy? Are they unhealthy? Are they good for you long term? Are they bad? Let's just put it all out there. Our priorities, our values, everything that's been going on. And let's honestly fill our carts back up intentionally. Maybe you've found a lot of impatience being with your kids 24/7. So maybe that's somewhere that you don't want to put that back in your cart. As you get back to this normal, I want to focus on being patient with my family. Maybe you've, for some reason, gained a lot of love for people around you. Like I want to keep that. I want to put that back in my cart, and I want to make sure that I'm loving everyone around me. Let's look at this, what we lay out, and one by one look at it and say, do I want that? No. Do I want that? Yeah, let's put that in there. Let's put that highest priority. This is our chance. This is our opportunity to intentionally become influencers for Jesus. What are you going to do with it? You know, when I think of influencers, I think of people who left a lasting impact in people's lives for years to come, even after they were gone. And obviously, the most important, biggest influencer I think of is Jesus, right? Like, it's amazing how intentional he was when he was on earth. The people he went to visit, the places he went to, it was all on purpose. And probably one of the most intentional things that he set up or put in place is what we call communion today, right? And so we invited you at the beginning to gather bread or crackers or whatever you have and some juice or Sprite or whatever you've got so that we can take communion now. So if you guys want to get that ready, communion is a time where we remember Jesus' death. The bread resembles his body, and the juice or wine is supposed to help us remember the blood that was poured out. And here's something that I think a lot of people get wrong. In my opinion, I don't think it's a time where we think about Jesus dying and it gives us shame or guilt, right? Like a lot of times we want to think, oh man, I feel so bad about who I am that Jesus had to die for me. I think what communion is really about and what Jesus has intended is that we think on that and we express gratitude because of that. We feel honored that Jesus would die for us and give us a chance to live freely, to live on mission for him. Right, and so we want to take that now. And he passed this bread out to his disciples and he said, take this in remembrance of me. Every time you eat it, think of my body that was beaten for you. And so we invite you to take that now. And after they had done that and passed that around, he took this cup of wine and he passed it around. He said, when you drink of this, drink it in remembrance of me, that it's like my blood that was poured out for you. And so we take that and we remember his body that was beaten. Remember his blood that was poured out and the anguish and pain that he went through. We can be grateful for it. Let's pray together. God, we thank you for giving us the opportunity to change our lives, to reset our priorities, to reset our values. God, thank you for giving us that. And even more importantly, God, we thank you for choosing to die for us. The sin that we've lived in, the human nature that we have that is just ugly. You came down and you died for that, God, and we appreciate you so much. God, I pray for everyone during this pandemic that you will give us insight, you'll give us wisdom, you will light our path so we know where to go from here, God. You're good, you're amazing, and we thank you for that. Amen.
I'm Kaylin. I went to Northern for my ninth grade year, and then after that I switched to Liberty University Online Academy for the rest of my years of high school and was able to actually graduate with enough credits that I'm technically a sophomore in college now.
Nice. So we really don't even need to be doing this because you've been honored last year, right? That's awesome. I have one really important question for you. Uh,
Okay.
Probably the most important question of the day. If there was a movie made after you, what would it be called?
I have no idea.
You can't think of anything? What would it be called?
Um, let's just go with my name. Make it really simple, but like,
Yeah, I like it with a period at the end. It'd be like
yes.
Kaylin period. That'd be really good. So your school, you kind of explained that. What was your favorite memory from like your schooling growing up?
Um, Favorite memory, probably once I switched to online school, not having to wake up at 7 a.m.
Yo, amen to that. What time do you wake up now? Well, I guess one.
Um, it really depends. I tried to wake up at like 9:30 each day, but that kind of like pushed back later and later.
That's fair.
10:30.
That's
Yeah.
fair. So where are you going to school?
I'm going to UNCG's Lloyd's International Honors College
That is awesome. When you go to school, are you going to stay on campus or are you going to stay at home?
on campus.
On campus, nice. You'll get the full thing. And what are you going to study? What's your major?
My major is deaf interpreting.
Deaf interpreting?
Yes, so like ASL interpreting.
Oh, deaf. Deaf. Not deaf. Like TA.
Not deaf.
What do you speak to the dead? That's amazing. Deaf interpreting. That is awesome. Do you have any like have you taken courses right now? Like do you know ASL or anything like that?
I have taken a few like online courses, and then I was taking an in-person like co-op kind of course.
Yeah.
That of course was like canceled halfway through because of the coronavirus.
Of course. That makes sense. So can you sign right now?
Depends on what it is.
Can you sign my name?
Your name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prove it. Do it. I don't know if I can believe that or not. I mean, like I don't know sign language, so I'll take your word for it. That's awesome.
Okay.
So you want to help people? That's gonna be so good. What are you most excited about for school?
Um, I guess really just like meeting new people.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
that'll be good. Are you still gonna dance when you go?
I'm gonna minor in dance.
Awesome. That'll be really cool. So interpretive dancing, those two go together so well. Look at that. Awesome. And what kind of career are you hoping for? Like you could probably do a lot with that. So what's like your dream job to do?
Um, I really like interpreting like music and like music events. So
Mhm.
that would be like the dream job. But right now, it's really just like whatever will hire me.
That is the truth. Yep, I get that. I get that. Well, cool. All right, here is the last question, and it's pretty broad. So take your time with it. What's the most valuable lesson you've learned in the past 18 years?
Trust in what your parents say
Ooh, that's
because they know a lot more than you do.
yes. Way to go. That's awesome. See, both your brothers said procrastinating. And so I was hoping you would say that for the trifecta. But yes, trust what your parents say because they've been through it. You know, they get it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's a great lesson. Are you on social media?
Yes,
What platform do you use the most?
Instagram.
What?
Instagram.
Instagram. What's your Insta name? What you got?
Kaylin1221.
Shout her out on Instagram. Find her on wherever else she's at, but Kaylin1221 is her name, and you can just congratulate her, and we can honor her in that way. So thank you guys so much. Well, that's all we've got for today. Again, we're so glad that you were able to join us. And if you would, go ahead and share this video. Maybe start a watch party of your own so more people can see it. If you need anything at all, go to our hub at catalystchurch.info. There you can connect with us, you can give online, and you can check out our COVID-19 resource page where you'll see everything that we put out throughout the week during this time. Again, thanks for joining us, and we hope that you guys have a great week.